Yeah, for a little change of pace, let me adjust the camera. Should have done that first. That didn't help any. Going to do a little work on this Mustang. I'm sorry, I got to adjust this a little bit more. Okay, I have a handful of things that's wrong with it. Nothing substantial, nothing huge, but stuff that needs done to it. And forgive me for just a second while I get a couple of sockets together that I did not get together to begin with. It's actually going to be in prom this weekend. I'm still on vacation until Friday. Prom is Saturday. They wanted to use the MG, which most people do. The problem is the kids can't drive a stick. And last year I taught a kid, and I'm not really going to do that again. I may have mentioned this in another other videos. Doesn't make any difference. So I'm going to use this for prom. Well, it still had a bit of a coolant leak from the thermostat, and I just checked it, and one of the bolts was, I want to say, looser than what I would sure like it to be, and I get a little bit on the other side. I probably got half a turn out of one side, so we're going to hope that took care of that. It's not leaking bad, but it is leaking. But here's the things that it does have that has been kind of a constant hassle since, well, I hate to say this, since the beginning of time, but one of the biggest ones is the points distributors are fine. It's just not efficient. They work fine. They're just not super efficient for other things. They can get dirty. They can get they may not be set right. The condenser could go bad. The coils, in these particular instances, the coils don't put out a lot of gumption. Whatever is happening with this car, I try to put a tachometer on it. I followed the instructions. They're not hard to do. It's 4-wire. One is ground. You can't mess that up real bad. Two of them are, one is for the light to kick on, so either do it to your lights, or I just hook to the ignition side along with the other wire, which gives it to the ignition side. The other one goes to the negative side of your coil. And I did that, and I got nothing, no signal at all. It just kept messing around, and so I thought the tack was bad. I didn't check it. I just took it down, got another one that I didn't want, put it in it. It didn't make any difference. I'm still not getting a signal. If I moved it around on, give it a little signal here and there, it would move a little bit, but it won't do it. And I had it set on 6-cylinder. It was one that you could set 4, 6, or 8-cylinder, and I still wasn't getting any reading. So with that said, it's a little fat on time, and I knew that. And I've already changed the points condenser and stuff, but that's been several years ago. And so something that they've been selling for these, which I was surprised at not only the cost, but it didn't need a plastic see-through cap, but that just looks cool. I've never had one. We used to have them in high school. 2 or 3 kids had put them on their cars, the old see-through cap. But anyway, it's an electronic ignition. Basically uses the same setup as a GM HEI did. It's for the, I think it would work on the 140, 170, 200, and possibly the 250. I don't know if it'll work on the 240. I don't think it'll work on the 300. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to put this in. I ordered it and a set of plug wires that will go on this cap. Those may work. I'm not really sure, but I just decided to go get them all together. That way there was kind of no question. And I think the whole setup here was like $150 or something shipped to the house. So I didn't think that was too awful bad. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to put electronic ignition in today. Now, there's a couple of things that I may not video while messing with it. And one of the biggest ones is I'm going to have to find a 12-volt source that is, I cannot use the one that's feeding this now, the distributor. Most of these were, they had resistors in them. The HEI needs a full 12-volt source. And so And look at this plug. So this doesn't have hardly any miles on it. I don't know if you can see that or not. As you can see, it's oil coated, it's carboned up. This motor's wore smooth out. So you're asking yourself, why am I putting any money into this? Well, it's kind of simple. Right now, I cannot afford to put, you know, to do the V8 swap in this as much as I would like to. I need to get the 5 lug stuff in it first. Rear end needs rebuild. I need a complete front end rebuild kit. I'm going to need a complete brake set. Of course, it will be disc. As a matter of fact, looking on several of the places I kind of half shop at, a majority of them I could get. I'm getting brake clean. I can actually get front and rear disc brake conversion with master cylinder for under $1,000, and I would love to do that this week. But again, it needs rear leaf springs. It'll have to have shocks all the way around. It's going to have, like I said, front end rebuild kit, because I have no idea anything about this kit, the front end under it. I mean, I've obviously driven it, but that doesn't mean that it's good. I mean, it is stiff on the board. The back springs are shot. It actually sags in the back. What they did on the 6-cylinder 4-lug stuff, they used a basically it was a 4-leaf instead of a 5, and the V8s had 5 for softer ride. You mean it wouldn't be that big of a deal to stick? I'm just cleaning that plug up. I'm just going to see. I'm probably going to have to open the gap up a tad for the HEI, but I'm not going to right now. Anyway, the reason I pulled the plug is it wasn't not only to inspect it, but I need to turn this thing over and find top dead center. I need to know, because wherever that's at, I kind of want to put the distributor back where it was. Okay, I'm going to turn this thing over by hand. Or not. Well, why don't I do it the old-fashioned way? Where's my screwdriver at? Sitting in oil. I'm still tearing this LS motor apart behind me, and by the time you guys see this video, the LS motor will probably be half done. Okay. Let's see. Is it this one? No, or is it this one? Okay. I'll make sure it's turned the right way. Alright. Let me move that plug wire so I don't get zapped. Hey. I said move plug wire. So I've got my fingers all over everything here. Come on. Don't give up. There it is. Okay, what I was doing was using a screwdriver to go across the I don't know if you could even see it. Let me see what you're looking at. Yeah, you could kind of see it. The solenoid over there. All right, let's see if we see a timing mark. So I can get a... well, if there's a timing mark on that, I guess that's what Ford calls a balance. I see the marks on the block. Now, timing cover technically, but I'm not seeing anything. Boy, you just can't see anything down in there with this. Well, there it is. All right. So, yeah, there it is. Wow. Hang on. Okay, I don't know what you're going to be able to see here. You probably can't hear nothing here. Let me see what you're looking at there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, or even hear it. Listen to how much slop's in this timing chain. It's got a bunch. This thing is wore smooth out, and that's probably why I'm having trouble timing it. Okay, so we know the 6-cylinder is crap. All right, so we're we're to that conclusion. All right. Wow. I'll tell you what, how you can really tell. Pop this cap off. Okay, let me make sure you're looking at it. Okay, you can see that rotor bug sticking straight towards this direction. Watch me move. That's how much I'm moving this fan, and the rotor's not turning. So, yeah, this motor is wore smooth out, and I kind of knew that coming into it. Okay, I got an idea now where it's going to go. Now the vacuum advance on this is actually metal tubing. So what I'll probably have to do is something else I probably won't show you a whole lot of. Like I said a little bit ago, and I didn't finish it up. I'm going to have to go inside the car. I'll probably have to end up pulling in the ignition switch and finding a hot source there that's hot when the key is turned to the on position. That would be considered running, and then it needs to stay hot while it's cranking, and then once it's running, it of course obviously needs to stay hot. So I probably should have done that before I started taking this apart. I could technically put it back together, and I know where it's supposed to be, and I could start this up and actually you know, take all that apart and find that. But I have faith that I could figure it out. If not, there's a bunch of forums out there that can surely take care of this. Anyway, long story short, you probably won't see me mess too much with the ignition switch trying to find that hot wire, because I'm going to have to run new hot wire. It's going to be pretty good sized wire out to the distributor, and then I can also run the wire to from the since I actually kept the tack, it's laying in the front seat still. I actually brought the tack out here and wired it hard, you know, right here where I could see everything. You know, like the negative was on the negative side of the battery, the positives, both the light and the other one was to the battery, and then I was taking the source off of it, and I still wasn't getting any reading. So it wasn't like I was just, you know, guessing or whatever. I mean, I honestly give it the college try, I guess you want to call it. Okay, anyway, I'm going to have to change the fitting off this carburetor, so I'm going to take it with me, because I don't really want to lose that factory metal line, because all of them nowadays, well, the ones that were after this were all rubber, and this is kind of a direct fit for these, and it's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know that this distributor will ever be back in, but if I ever sell this motor to anybody or get rid of it or take it into do another project or even rebuild it for something, like I said, for maybe for another project, it'd be nice to have everything together. Somebody who's building something back to stock may be interested in all this stuff. So anyway, I want to get on with it, and I really haven't looked this over a whole lot, to be honest with you. I know the firing order is 153624, but to be honest with you, I didn't even look to see what the direction is. So let's put the cap back on. We know this is number 1. And of course, that's exactly where that thing was facing, was down at number 1. So 5 is next, which is this one. So it actually rotates clockwise. That's just something to keep in mind when you do these. I ran into a problem several years ago that was my own disaster, which is most generally anytime I have a problem, it is something that I did or overlooked or thought I was smarter than it or whatever you want to say. In this case was the same way. I had been doing small block Chevys, and I knew what the firing order was, and I went to I picked up a 71 Firebird from a guy that had a used up 350 in it, but it came with a 400 out of a 67 GTO, at least that's what he told me it was. Doesn't make any difference. Put that motor in and went to start the thing up, and of course I went 1843657 just like you're supposed to, and I got a big fat nothing, and I could not figure out. I mean, it acted like it was 180 out, so of course it's the first thing you do is you turn everything around, and so I did it, and then it even sounded, I mean, you know, it wasn't any better at all. And I thought, what have I done here? And so anyway, after a friend of mine who had a 66 Le Mans pulled up, at 389 4-speed net. Anyway, when he pulls up, I said, man, open your hood, I want to see something. And he opens it up there and takes a look at it. Sure enough, it's 1843657.2. I didn't have that wrong. But on the Pontiac, the distributor sat on the other side of the cam, which means it rotated counterclockwise, not clockwise. So even though I had it right, I had the numbers, I had everything backwards. One was still number one, but it was the other way. So I guess what I'm saying is really pay attention. Just don't start tearing stuff apart. I have seen a lot of people tear things apart, and I have been guilty of it myself. I'm getting some wrenches together here. And anyway, get everything apart and then don't remember or can't figure out what you've done or whatever, and you end up with a half-finished project. It ended up being 10. And you don't know how it goes back together, and half your friends don't know nothing either. And so nowadays it's pretty simple. You've got Google and YouTube and everything like that, just like I do. I mean, I've got it too. And so with that said, it's a whole lot easier now to get information and find pretty much how to fix or rebuild most anything. And if not, there's always somebody like me putting new videos out. I'm not a certified mechanic, and most of this stuff is just grab and go. If there's something I absolutely don't know, I haven't put any of my videos out yet on that transfer case, at least as of this time when I'm making this video, which is mid-April. And the reason I haven't is because I was actually using my software program, or that editing program, and I kind of figured out how to use it on that. And I've got 2 or 3 videos together to get started. But as I may have told you on an updated video here not that long ago, well, probably a while before this one comes out, a while ago, saying that it was a fail on the transfer case. Works in low range and in 2-wheel drive, but I cannot get it in for high or auto 4-wheel drive. And I think the reason for that, this is the vacuum line. As you can see, it's a kind of a direct, even though it looks like somebody's modified it. It's specific for this. Anyway, long story short, I haven't had time to mess with it. And then when the motor started giving us problems, I just kind of right now everything is kind of set aside. I've missed my opportunity to make any money on this thing, that Avalanche, and so what can you do? I'm not complaining about it. This is my own deal. Again, most of the time that I have failed at something, it was usually something that I did or didn't do, and in this case, it's exactly what happened. It looks like that must have been a choke cable. It looks like that holder. It looks like that came up. Maybe this had a manual choke on it at one time. I really don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, guys, so what I'm trying to say though is just be prepared for the worst when it comes to working on these older vehicles or any of your projects. Like I said, I have lots of projects, and more than I probably should. I'm looking for sockets that I think are buried in a box. It's my own fault. So bear with me for just a second. I did not have this planned out, and obviously I should have. Anyway, I'm not disappointed in it because I've always kind of liked the Avalanche, like I've said in the past, and it's not that I've always wanted one, but I kind of always liked them. So I'm not completely upset that I have it. Matter of fact, when it ends up being done, it's actually going to be hopefully quite a nice vehicle. Well, it should be. Almost everything's going to be rebuilt on it. So that's that's how it works. But at one time, the transmission was replaced. I don't have dates or times or paperwork on it. I just know by the way it looks. I also know that the transfer case as soon as I get done with it the right way. Like I said, somehow I messed up on the actual electronic actuator, the thing that actually changes it in the gear select. Something inside I did something wrong. I either didn't line something up proper, and I think I remember that now. I remember looking down there before I took it apart, and I watched a couple of videos on guys. Got a tag on it. I want to make sure it's not. Well, it tells me it's a 200, 1967 200. You probably won't be able to see that. I don't know if it'll focus on that or not, but it says 200 and 1967. So, anyway, I still got to get the wire off of that coil, but I'm not super concerned about that. I don't remember what size that is. It's not a 10. Let's go with a 9. Oh, look at there, it's not a 9 either. Yeah, it figures. I know I grabbed metric wrenches. The 10 will work, it just doesn't grab it very hard. Luckily, none of this stuff is super tight. Anyway, I know I've been kind of jumping around on this thing because I'm trying to think of this, making sure I'm paying attention, because that's something I keep failing at. It seems like I keep forgetting what I've done and how I'm doing it and why I'm doing it. I am going to put that tag back on when I get this coil off out of here. I'm just going to let's see here. Are you going to reach? Not a chance. Yeah, this thing, it even looks like the head's leaking a little bit of oil. I thought it was from the valve cover, but now looking at it, that doesn't appear to be the case. I'm guessing that this motor has probably never been apart. This motor came from a 67 Mustang. I know it did. I was there when we picked it up, and the guy showed us the car, and it had been sitting for a long time. So I knew it was an older motor, and I think, like I said, it's been in this car 20 years. So it's not like this is a I bet this motor has probably never been apart. Yes, it's pretty in blue, but it was painted prior to us putting it in because we had the thing out. This thing was sitting there on an engine stand when we got home. So we just painted it up before we put it in. Whatnot. Now, you guys might think I'm spending quite a bit of money on this, but a lot of people aren't going to. I just pulled the coil off. It's made in Mexico, used with primary resistor wire or external resistor. So yeah, see, this has to be resisted to work proper. So that tells you that you cannot use that wire to power your distributor. So, and I kind of knew that coming into it. I'm going to go ahead and put these bolts back in the block. Again, it's more of a, there's no reason to take them out and leave them out. They're not hurting anything. They're not in my way. Now see, that HEI distributor is probably going to be a bit taller. And the reason I say that is because that cap isn't going to reach there. So I got to leave this thing down so it does not interfere with the wires. I'm going to pull the distributor here in just a minute, and I'm just going to tighten this one up a little bit. It's got a lock washer on it, but I just don't want it to fall off going down the road, which yes, I've had happen. I had my first BMW. I did some trade. I worked on a car for a guy, and his boy had blown the motor up in this thing. I'm looking for the, I know there's a bolt down there somewhere holding this thing. Oh wow. Nice and easy to get to, Ford. Way to go. Anyway, it was a little 3 Series. And anyway, I bought, or did some work, traded, whatever, got the motor, or got the car home. Took me a long time to find a a motor for it, because he had actually put a rod through the block. And he said that, you know, he was just headed out of town, everything was fine, and just all of a sudden this motor just self-destructed. And the car only had like 107,000 on it, maybe. So I was kind of confused, but whatever. When I took it apart, you know, the BMWs are something. I mean, I know I talk about them because, well, of course I still have one or two of them, but the reason that I like them, and the reason they're so expensive to begin with, I mean, best bang for your buck is a Mercedes, you know, 5-year-old Mercedes or BMW that has 60,000 miles on it. If it's been serviced proper, which is what you need to look for to make sure that they had it serviced at BMW or Mercedes-Benz or whatever. Anyway, I mean, they drop in value pretty quick, and most of those luxury, I'm gonna call it kind of a luxury or luxury sport. Now, obviously an M, you know, or an AMG, Mercedes, whatever, you're not going to get those very cheap for a long time, sometimes ever. But anyway, those, even back, I think that BMW, that first one I had was an '84, and it was the 4-cylinder, it was a 318, and it was yeah, I got looking at it, which of course this was a long time ago. This would have been 93, 94, maybe 5. There wasn't much Google, and there definitely wasn't much eBay for people like me. There was stuff, but there wasn't enough for me at the time. And so everything I had to buy, this thing is fighting quite a bit here. I can't even see it. The bolt is under the distributor, so I keep having to loosen it up and pull the distributor up. I can't see the bolt at all, and it's apparently pretty long-winded. And the vacuum advance is in the way. And if I try to turn it, it seems to be catching on something, whether it's a wire sticking out of the bottom. Not really sure if that, the bolt fell out. Alright. Yeah, you can tell it's a longer distributor because here's the 6-cylinder distributor. Little old short booger. Same setup though, so that's a good thing. Alright, anyway, so I started doing the research and I bought a book on the BMW, specifically like rebuild. I mean, you know, it was basically either Chilton's or Haynes, and they were actually a lot more involved than as far as showing you things. You know, like half the stuff today you read and see on those things, all they're wanting you to do is, well, it's not serviceable. You can't service that. You need to take it to the dealer. You need to take it to a professional. And they don't even cover half the stuff that they used to cover, which to me is a bit aggravating, but it is what it is. So the vacuum advance was like this. It doesn't necessarily make much difference, but I need to see that. I probably should have pulled the cap to, I need a rag now to match the cover. I lubed that O-ring up, a little bit of lithium white grease, just to make sure it goes down that block good. But anyway, when I got looking at the BMW, did some research on them, I found out how good they really are built. You're talking something that has forged steel crank from the factory, and you know, I'm really close. The fuel line is in my way. I really don't want to bend it. Matter of fact, I'm actually hurting my, kind of bending the top of the fuel pump. I'm going to loosen this line up. It's got gas in it. Let's see if I can bend it that way. All right.
it's all the way down yet. Let me feel. No, I think I feel. No, it's definitely not all the way down. Come on. You were in there once. I hate turning that motor over much. Actually, I got O-ring, doesn't want to go down in there. I'm starting to catch now, but I can't turn it anymore. Oh, I know why. It's catching on the it's catching on the dipstick. That's cute. Well, to be honest with you, it hasn't even hit the O-ring yet. So the aluminum is a tad bit bigger. Let's see what I got as a persuader that won't hurt anything. I have, unfortunately, I bought some brass punches, and of course they're over at the shop. Well, I might have to stop this video and come back to it here in just a minute because I really do not want to beat on that. Well, I do have a piece of brass. That is brass, I promise. But I don't think it's really going to do me much good, so I really can't get through this. It's a rubber mallet with a piece of brass. Caught in the distributor. Okay, it's not going. I'm going to come back to you because I know this video is probably already too long. So I'll be back when I get something going here.